Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Saturday, May 16th, 2026, and you're listening to Alex's News. The weather in Riverside is looking mild today, with a high of 71.7 degrees and a low of 59.9. It sounds like a comfortable day to be out and about. In today's episode, we are taking a closer look at the situation involving Tina Peters and the decision from Colorado's governor to commute her sentence. We will explore the context and the details behind this development. Beyond that, we have a packed lineup with plenty of other stories from around the nation and the world that you will not want to miss. We will break down everything you need to know to stay informed. All this and more coming up on Alex's News. Stay tuned. Good morning. A major political story is unfolding in Colorado after Governor Jared Polis commuted the prison sentence of former Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters. For the details, we're joined by reporter Ethan. Ethan, welcome.
Good morning, Grace. Yes, this happened just yesterday, on Friday, May 15th. Governor Polis cut Peters' 9-year sentence down to 4.5 years, which clears the way for her release on parole on June 1st. Peters is 70 years old, and she's already served over 600 days in a Pueblo prison.
So how is the governor justifying this? It sounds like a dramatic intervention.
It is. According to PBS NewsHour and NPR, Polis called the original sentence, quote, extremely unusual and lengthy, end quote, for a nonviolent, first-time offender. In his formal clemency letter, he acknowledged Peters committed serious crimes and deserved prison time, but he called the length an, quote, obvious outlier, end quote. He's not saying she's innocent, he's saying the punishment didn't fit the pattern.
And I understand he pointed to another case involving a Democratic lawmaker. What's that about?
That's a key piece. The Guardian reports that former Democratic State Senator Sonia Jaquez Lewis was convicted earlier in 2026 under the exact same felony statute as Peters, attempt to influence a public servant. Lewis had submitted forged letters during an ethics investigation, but she received only probation and community service. Polis posted on social media that justice has to be applied evenly, and that disparity is central to his argument.
That's quite a contrast. But there's also reporting that this wasn't purely about legal fairness, right?
Right. The Colorado Sun and 9 News both suggest the commutation was a strategic move to de-escalate what's been described as a, quote, war on Colorado, end quote, led by the Trump administration. We'll get into that pressure campaign in a moment, because it has been extraordinary. But first, it helps to understand exactly what Peters did to land in prison in the first place.
Yes, please walk us through the original case. This goes back several years.
It does. According to The Guardian and PBS NewsHour, the case started in May of 2021. Peters used her position as Mesa County Clerk to facilitate a security breach of Dominion voting systems equipment. She snuck an unauthorized computer expert, an associate of MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell, into a secure, quote, trusted build, end quote, update using a badge belonging to a real employee. Sensitive data, including passwords and disk images, was later leaked online and presented at a so-called cyber symposium.
And the trial. When was she actually convicted?
In August of 2024, a Mesa County jury found Peters guilty on 7 of 10 counts. Those included 3 counts of attempting to influence a public servant, conspiracy to commit criminal impersonation, and first-degree official misconduct. At her sentencing in October of 2024, District Judge Matthew Barrett delivered a blistering rebuke. He called her a, quote, charlatan, end quote, who was, quote, peddling snake oil, end quote, and gave her 9 years, citing a total lack of remorse.
So how does a 9-year sentence get reduced so dramatically? Was there a court ruling along the way?
Yes, and this is crucial. In April of 2026, just last month, a Colorado appeals court upheld Peters' conviction but vacated her sentence. According to NPR, the court found that Judge Barrett had improperly factored Peters' quote, protected speech, end quote, her continued insistence that the 2020 election was rigged as an aggravating factor to increase her punishment. The court didn't explicitly call the 9 years excessive on its own. It just ordered a resentencing.
And the governor's commutation essentially short-circuits that resentencing hearing?
Exactly. Polis's order on May 15th finalized her release terms before the trial court could act, so the resentencing is now moot. Critics say the governor jumped in front of the judicial process. Supporters say he was simply ensuring a fair outcome given the appeals court's findings. Either way, Peters walks out on June 1st.
Now let's get to that federal pressure campaign. President Trump has been deeply involved here.
He has. Trump has repeatedly championed Peters as a, quote, political prisoner, end quote, and a, quote, respected, end quote, official. When Colorado refused to release her earlier, his administration rolled out a series of severe retaliatory measures against the state. He even issued a symbolic federal pardon for Peters earlier this year, though that had no legal effect on her state crimes. And immediately after the commutation was announced, Trump posted, quote, free Tina, end quote, on Truth Social.
What were the actual retaliatory measures? You said they were severe.
They were sweeping. ABC News and Air and Space Forces magazine reported that the administration ordered the permanent headquarters of U.S. Space Command move from Colorado Springs to Huntsville, Alabama. Trump explicitly linked that move to Colorado's mail-in voting policies and the treatment of Peters. That's a huge economic and strategic hit for Colorado Springs.
And there was something involving climate research as well?
Yes. The administration moved to dismantle the National Center for Atmospheric Research, NCAR, in Boulder. The plans included selling the iconic Mesa lab and transferring the, quote, Derecho, end quote, supercomputer to a third party. Officials cited a desire to end what they called, quote, climate alarmism, end quote. That's a major scientific institution being broken apart, and it sent shockwaves through the research community.
What about disaster aid? I remember Colorado had serious wildfires.
Right. FEMA denied federal disaster assistance for Colorado's Lee and Elk fires. That was the first time in 35 years such a request was rejected. On top of that, the administration proposed mandatory cuts of 3 million acre-feet of water from the Colorado River, which would disproportionately affect the state. And roughly $109 million in transportation funds, plus $615 million in energy funds, were blocked by the federal government.
Those are staggering numbers. So how have other Colorado leaders responded to the commutation?
With a lot of anger, frankly. Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold called it a, quote, dark day for democracy, end quote, and accused Polis of, quote, selling out our state's justice system, end quote, to satisfy Trump. U.S. Senator Michael Bennet and former Governor John Hickenlooper both pushed back hard. Hickenlooper said Peters is, quote, guilty as sin, end quote, and a, quote, disgrace to Colorado, end quote.
And what about the state's attorney general? Where does he stand?
Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser called the commutation, quote, mind-boggling and wrong, end quote. But importantly, Weiser signaled the state will not drop its federal lawsuits against the Trump administration. According to Courthouse News, those suits argue that relocating Space Command and dismantling NCAR are unconstitutional acts of retaliation against state sovereignty. So the legal fight at the federal level continues.
So does the commutation actually end this standoff? Will the federal measures be rolled back?
That's the open question as of today, May 16th. White House officials have not yet confirmed whether the commutation will lead to restored funds or a reversal of the Space Command move. The retaliatory measures all remain active. Peters gets out on June 1st, but Colorado is still down hundreds of millions of dollars, a major military command, and a premier research lab.
And what about the broader message this sends to election officials across the country?
That's the warning being raised by the Colorado County Clerks Association. They said the decision signals, quote, open season, end quote, on election officials. The concern is that clerks who breach security or tamper with systems may now see commutation as a possible escape hatch, especially under political pressure. With the next election cycle approaching, the association says this could make their work more dangerous and more politicized.
It's a remarkable situation with national implications beyond Colorado's borders. Ethan, thank you so much for breaking it all down for us this morning.
My pleasure, Grace. We'll be tracking what happens around Peters' June 1st release and whether the federal government changes course.
That was reporter Ethan with the latest on Governor Polis's commutation of Tina Peters. We'll have more news after the break. Here are some other headlines. In the Lake Chad Basin, United States and Nigerian forces have truly made waves, terminating the global second-in-command of the Islamic State, Abu Bilal al-Manuki. During a meticulously planned 3-hour engagement on May 16, 2026, troops conducted a precision air-land operation that left the terrorist organization's ranks feeling quite hollow. President Donald Trump hailed the mission on Truth Social as a move to basin the world's most active terrorist. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu noted this daring joint operation dealt a heavy blow to the Sahel-based Al-Furqan office. Despite the complexity, military task force spokespeople confirmed there were 0 friendly casualties. This removal is expected to significantly degrade global funding capacity, as al-Manuki was a major orchestrator of regional terror. Moving to the Middle East, Israeli forces have ensured the ghost of al-Qassam will haunt the battlefield no more. Izzeldin al-Haddad, the top leader of Hamas's military wing in the Gaza Strip, was killed Friday, May 15th in a targeted airstrike. The strike hit a residential building and a vehicle in the Rimal neighborhood, resulting in at least 7 deaths and over 50 injuries. While al-Haddad was considered the last remaining architect of the October 7, 2023 attacks, having taken leadership after the 2025 death of Mohammed Sinwar, his removal puts a real dent in the armor of the current United States-brokered ceasefire. Israeli officials claim he was trying to restore military capabilities rather than sticking to disarmament agreements, proving that sometimes even ghosts can't escape their past. Back at home, commuters are finding that their morning plans have gone completely off the rails. The Long Island Railroad officially hit the brakes at 12:01 Saturday morning after negotiations between the Metropolitan Transportation Authority and 5 labor unions reached a dead end. This work stoppage by approximately 3,500 workers is the first since 1994, leaving nearly 300,000 daily passengers in a real locomotive bind. While Transportation Secretary Sean P. Duffy and Governor Kathy Hochul are pushing for a new track forward, the MTA is currently winging it with free shuttle buses between Long Island hubs and Queens. In the legal arena, 2 former high-ranking officials from Mexico's Sinaloa state have decided to stop running and start surrendering. Enrique Diaz-Vega and Gerardo Merida Sanchez are now in United States custody in New York, facing drug trafficking and money laundering charges. Merida Sanchez reportedly walked right up to the Arizona border to face the music regarding allegations of taking bribes from the Los Chapitos faction. This legal firestorm has caused Governor Ruben Rocha Moya to take a leave of absence, while Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum is demanding irrefutable evidence, insisting that these trials stay south of the border to preserve national dignity. Finally, on Capitol Hill, the House of Representatives found themselves in a legislative tie that was anything but a win. A war powers resolution aimed at ending Operation Epic Fury against Iran failed after a deadlocked 212-212 vote on May 14th. This stalemate means military operations will continue despite the 60-day statutory deadline expiring on May 1st. While some leaders argue the naval blockade is a continuation of war, Speaker Mike Johnson is standing firm on executive authority. With gasoline prices climbing, the tension in Washington is certainly fueling a lot of regional instability. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Opus 4.6, Gemini Pro 3.1, Gemini Flash 3, and Google Cloud Text-to-Speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.